Well, howdy doody, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show. And of course, on Tuesdays, we always have our co host, Ramin Modiri. You bet. And right now, we're streaming live on E360 TV, our Facebook page, Self Worth the Missing Link Superstars, and our YouTube channel, Laurie Davis Show Host. And on Tuesdays, I hope you're getting used to the fact that every Tuesday you've got to look at our two faces as we talk about aspects of finance, money. We've talked about movies and books. And today, Ramin's going to treat us to a really great topic, some of the best places to retire. So when I promoted the show today, Ramin, I made sure I sent it out to people on my contact file who are either thinking about retiring, have retired, maybe like you and I, we probably never will retire. But over to you for a little hello, greetings, and what you're going to talk to us about today.
Awesome. Yes, it's as always, it's so wonderful to be here. It's my favorite day of the week, Tuesdays. It's as you can see, I'm wearing my holiday shirt.
Me too. Me too. And we never even collaborated on that.
No, we did not. It just happened. So, but I thought it would be a lively topic with so many baby boomers, especially retiring. But retirement, the topic is not more about what age group we are in. It's when we are ready. We like to be in an environment that it's maybe less stressful, or maybe it is a time that we want to enjoy um, the quality of life. So it has really not a lot to do with the age. And I will share a story why even we're talking about this topic, because in 2006, right before the financial crisis happened, I was looking at what's going on around the United States with the real estate prices, and I thought, where would I like to have my, have my family with the different qualities, and and I actually visited some of the countries. So I traveled and I looked at the things that I wanted to have, if I wanted to be somewhere more comfortable, as far as, although United States is, the supposedly the greatest country, everybody comes here, but there again we put our priorities. So sometimes the things that we want to do. So, and it's interesting that more than ever, it's possible to, because of the globalization, it is possible to travel and live somewhere else. And we will discuss that. We will discuss about why it is possible, because most people, I mean, we go back 50, 60 years ago, a lot of people did not travel a lot. They were like in the same city. It was generation after generation, but lives have changed. So it will be hopefully a lively topic. I have my own list based on some of my own research, and based on the qualities that you can prioritize. So we will discuss that. But before we do that, as always, I like to have a little story going back in history, the things that we learned. And one of the things we've spoken in the past is about, in the United States, we've talked about, we talk about our investment and financial literacy in especially in North America, especially in the United States. Why in high schools and the youth, they do not get a lot of attention to savings, to investing for the future. And where is that coming from? Why we spend so much time on the material things, on accumulation of things, on basically on keeping up with the Joneses, for instance, rather than the quality of life. So, as you know, the biggest part of the United States economy is the consumerism. There's a consumer. So let's travel back in history a little bit, go back and see where did this start, and then we talk about the qualities. Um, I'm going to go back to Great Depression, and as you know, after that we had the World War II. So when we had the World War II, when it's ended, you have to remember there were 16 million. I'm talking about from American point of view, and of course, there's Canada, and of course, many other countries were involved. Unfortunately, over 70 million people died. Um, there were about 16 million Americans, which 11% of the population was part of the World War II. They were overseas and they served in war. And then about 8 million of them, they were overseas at the end. The average age of these people were 20, they were 23 years of age. And now, within 18 months, all of them are coming back home. Almost about 1.5 million stayed, but the rest are coming back and they're out of uniform. So what do we do now? Our whole economy was based on war, the production, the factories that we are building on, and so you have to decide now, what do we do? What do we do next? Where do we work? Where do we live? So these were the questions after World War II. Of course, when you think about Japan and Germany, they were completely destructed, and it took decades to come back. So based on that, because of the war, we the interest rates were very, very low. A lot of governments were just borrowing, and basically the interest rates were close to zero. Until like 1951, the Fed, the central bank of the United States, was not really independent. Like President
Hmm.
Roosevelt had a lot of influence on the Fed, and till after 1951, finally it became independent. So basically, the interest rates actually stayed low, below 2%, believe it or not, till 1950s.
Ooh.
And the reason was we have over $6 trillion of debt because of the World War. So all the governments, including the United States, they want to keep the debt services, or the cost of servicing these debt, as low as possible. So that was planned. And so basically, for the government, it was good. But guess what happened? It also allowed the economy to grow in a way that people now could borrow at such a low interest rate that they could go and buy homes, cars, toys, gadgets. So basically, now our economy starts growing because of the GI Bill. When the military came back, they could actually buy their house, their home, with no down payment, no payment for a year, at a very low cost. And then on top of that, they could go and buy other things, such as far as like appliances. They could buy as far as any type of electronic and air conditioning. And the other reason was also because of the uh, credit cards finally were introduced, and credit cards at a low interest rate, so allowed people to borrow even more. They could get installment loans, they could get fixed loans, they could, again, uh, on top of that, use the credit cards. And all these interests were tax deductible, so there was incentive to borrow. So in those years, because we are coming from this Great Depression mentality, which was based on saving, we cannot afford to borrow, things can go. Now we are opening up. So I want to picture that now we have the new families, all these 20-year, they want to start a family, they want to have children. Now we can actually own a home. And the other plus was that because of Great Depression, with all that hardship, it created innovation. And we had technological innovation. Now, what happened, and now I'm going to put everything together so you see why we're talking about now retirement, but what happened at that time, people were allowed to have access to equal in lifestyles. I could have TV, I could have refrigerator in the house, and there was not a lot of difference between I'm very wealthy and like the other classes. So the equality in a lifestyle was coming together. And for instance, average person was driving Chevys, the wealthy will drive Cadillacs. So there was not, again, this disparity. So there was this good feel, and also the growth in wages. The wages actually started growing, that they doubled, and so people could borrow, but they were able, they could afford to pay their payments. So this went on, and that was a good news, that a lot of people, again, they had, again, access to catalogs, to have a good fashion. So life was, in a, as I said, from the lifestyle was pretty equal in many ways. So people had that. And the reason I say that is bring it forward why it is we can look at the traveling overseas now, is because air travel used to be only for select group of people those years. Now we have accessibility. Technology has made us equal in lifestyles. When you think about smartphones, I don't know many people who don't have smartphones. As a matter of fact, I heard the story. One of my friends in India, somebody was asking for money, and that was one of the street corners. They go and ask for money, and when my friend wanted to give him cash, he gives him a smartphone. Said, no, no, deposit in my digital currency. So it's I think he had cryptocurrency. He says, well, pay me in digital currency rather than giving me cash. So this is how far we have come, and basically smartphones, and then again, traveling is accessible to a lot of people. Now, something happened in 1970s, and basically, what happened was we had this inflation problem 1970s. Now Germany is on its own. They're growing. Japan has been growing. And basically, uh, we are now getting to a position of competition. We have the OPEC, and now there's a pressure on the economy. Now people see that, well, the money that they were making is not going as long as it used to be before. So because of that, that's put the pressure. Now we fast forward now in the past 30 years, and you can hear, the one percenters, and you think about what has happened, especially you listen to the media, to the pundits. There has been huge gap between wealth classes. The wealthy are getting a lot wealthier
Mm-hmm.
because of, whether this stock market, the investments that they've done, and the unfortunately the poor are getting poorer. And the main thing is, and I'm gonna, because we're gonna talk about the retirement, is unfortunately the priorities have changed. So what has happened, uh, basically, um, people have been borrowing without having their wages grow, because of we have gotten used to, again, and I live in California, we got to keep up with the Joneses because they have two cars, because they have this large house, because they have 5 bathrooms. There are more people living in the houses that there are more bathrooms than the people living in them, at least in California, what we see. So it's all about materialistic things. So people have gotten away from really the savings and investing mentality, living within your means. And what has happened, because of that, they've become enslaved to their finances. And that's the difference between now, and that's why I want to go back to 1940s and 1950s. That's the difference. The wages kept up with their borrowing, and so the lifestyles were much closer. Now our lifestyles are mostly on a really, it's like a paper palace or paper castle. It's not on reality. So those are the bad news in the sense of now. So the good news is that because of the technology and globalization, and because of now everyone can travel at a affordable uh, cost, we can move around, we can travel everywhere. So what happens is now, believe it or not, I'm just talking, but just in United States, we have about 8 million expats. And expats are the people who decided to move away from the country, like in this case, United States, and live somewhere overseas. And the reasons are many. Some of them because they have families, perhaps. Some of them maybe have businesses. But that means they've given up their citizenship to be part of residents of another place. So I'll give you some of the top countries that we have expats living in. Of course, it won't surprise you. The number one is Mexico. Almost 800,000 Americans are expats living in Mexico. And number two is Canada at 273,000 as of 2023. And that makes sense. They are our neighbors in the United States. So that has happened. And then we go more on the our ancestries, go to United Kingdom, 171,000 people live there. Germany, about 153,000. Then we have Australia, 117. And then after that, you go to Israel, South Korea, France, Japan, Spain. So we do still have that connection. So some people do leave the United States, again, for could be personal reason, for family, or could be business reasons. So that's what happens with the expats. So because of, again, accessibility, now when I'm thinking of um, maybe at that age that I like to move away from United States, go somewhere else and live for different reasons. What are those countries and what factors you have to look at? So this is where, if you're, again, I'm talking about not age retirement but financial retirement. If you feel that you can live comfortably somewhere else, and perhaps it could be, again, it could be a financial decision, some other places might be affordable, then these are the factors that I would ask you to look at. These are the factors that I looked at. So of course, I mentioned about financial, so affordability and cost of living plays a big role. Can I live in that country without really having that financial pressure? So that was one of them. Uh, they're not they're not in a specific order. I just want to give you the factors that I looked at. The second thing is favorable tax environment. Are the taxes in my favor? I don't have to pay a lot of taxes. And that's the reason you won't see any country like in Scandinavia. I don't go to Switzerland. I mean, I want to go to Sweden or Norway or Denmark. So the other thing is the hospitality, how friendly the people in those countries are. The fourth thing I would say, desirability. Is this a place I really like to live? So we got to look at the environment that we will be living in. The fifth one is actually plays more so as we are aging, is the climate. We like to be in a nice climate. I love four seasons, but you know what? Shoveling snows when you're retired is not a priority. So I would rather stay. I like to have a nice, moderate or warm climate if it's possible. So climate, actually, pleasant climate plays a big role. Also, you want to make sure you have property rights. So you could have a nice climate, but now you want to make sure that the government has regulations, and your neighbor is not going to come and take over the government or anyone from the businesses. So property rights are actually important. The next seventh is the healthcare. You not only want to have well-developed public health system, but also affordable healthcare. So again, as we grow older, that becomes a much more and more relevant factor. The other thing is, again, at any age, is the culture. Want to make sure there's entertainment, there's stimulation. Some people like museums sometimes, but some other people like arts, and so it is important to have that cultural also factor. Next is the nature and landscape. So you might not live in the beach, but you love the mountains, and the nature and the landscape also plays a big role. Then we get to the technicalities. What are the residency requirements? And we shall see that plays a big role. What are the rules? Can you become a resident? Because especially when we think about healthcare and property rights, it does make a difference. So how easy is it? How easy it is to become a resident of a company so we have access to the benefits? Or what are the visa requirements? And so each country has its own requirements. And then what happens is, do we fit in within that culture? Do we get opportunities? Let's say, I know you've been having, for instance, your writers workshops, for instance. Do I have access? Is there an environment I can maybe do my writings and be creative? And also, can I get financially rewarded for that? Does that offer me? Or I could be a painter, or I could be a business person. So as far as like entrepreneurship, is that any again opportunities there? So these are the factors that I looked at. Again, in 2006 I was looking at some of the countries. So at that time, I tell you what I did. In 2006 I visited Argentina and Uruguay. And so Argentina was coming from 2001, 2002. They had a huge loan default. The property dropped tremendously. Argentina is a beautiful country, and I thought that the cost of real estate was really affordable. And Uruguay, they were like building new apartments, and trying to attract more investors coming in. Um, but I went back to the United States. So Argentina was one of them I actually looked at. So in South America, these are my personal things that I looked at: Argentina, Uruguay. In Europe, I looked at Cyprus and did some investing there, and Spain. And in Oceania, New Zealand was my choice. So those are the five in 2006. They were my five top choices. And if I would have moved, it most likely would have been New Zealand. It had offered, talking about landscape, and then stability of the government, the governance, and all that property rights was very important. Well, obviously I'm still here. I'm talking to you from California, so that did not happen. And of course, you know what happened in 2008. We had the financial crisis, which affected the whole world, believe it or not, except Australia and New Zealand, and somewhat actually even Canada, because they had a stronger capital structure. So let me give you a list of the countries that, if finances are not important, what I mean
Okay.
by that is, you said, money is no object, where would be the top places in the world I would love to live, and without being considered about money. So my top five choices are there've been studies done, there've been surveys done in 45 different countries. So one of the top countries to live in. So number five, for again, finance are not objective. Number five is Spain. And Spain's attractiveness is the climate, is the culture, and they have the friendliness. So that's number five if you want to move to a country, again, with no money object. Number four is New Zealand. New Zealand, again, we think about landscape, scenic. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, or it's beautiful. It has the freshest water. The water is unbelievable. For if you like, again, fishing and other things, is a very healthy place, and people are friendly, and it's a very stable government. I worked with their central bank. I knew for many years, so I know the economy is pretty stable. So that's number four. Number three is Australia, and Australia, again, it's a wide variety of climates, and the scenic, again, landscape, and again, friendly people. It's expensive. New Zealand is very expensive. It's it's not that affordable. But as I said, as long as the money is not an object, those are the top five. So it's a number three. Number two is Portugal. Portugal has become up and coming in the last 5 6 years, and believe it or not, they are affordable. So buying a house, or as far as investing, it is important. And then the climate also is very attractive. Beautiful beaches. So Portugal is number two. And drum rolls, as far as, again, if you had a choice with the financial side, it's Switzerland. Switzerland is obviously for the taxes. It's a beautiful country. Now you don't have the beaches, just climate. Obviously, can get cold if you like skiing, but the property rights, it's very stable. So, as far as the countries that I would say they are attractive, again, finances. These are the top five. I give you um, extra five. So if you want to say, well, I can. What are the next five? I just randomly go ahead.
Well, I hope that mine choice is on the list because I personally went to Panama and investigated moving there
Okay, that's you
back in
will.
the day. Back in the day.
Excellent.
So go back to
We'll
you.
discuss that. I
Okay.
appreciate that, and we can. So right now I'm like focusing on more on the finances
Yes.
are not of issue or a concern. So believe it or not, number six, if we had a choice, would be Canada for many
Yay.
reasons. Yes. And then the next four in the different randoms would be Luxembourg, which is expensive country, but has great banking system, and there's taxing. And then we have Italy for obvious reasons, and Ireland,
Ooh.
and Netherlands and Holland. So I went this route first. I said, well, if I didn't have to worry about especially money and housing, these will be my choices. I'm going to go to your reasoning again, like you mentioned Panama. So I mentioned to you about the housing, but the visas and residency requirements, and then the cost of living, desirability, about the government, of course, climate and healthcare. So we've looked at that, and then we shall see if Panama is part of these countries. So finances, again, cost of living plays an important role in here. So whether I can live on, like for instance, in Italy, if you have $31,000 a year, it's pretty affordable. You can live in Italy, for instance. Switzerland requirements, and if anyone is interested, I'll be more than happy to go more in depth what kind of investments you need, because you can have a personal investments, you can buy properties, you can invest in business and economic. You can work with the government and have economic projects. So each one has different requirements. Like Switzerland says, listen, you have to make sure all the finances, you have to show us enough, you have enough investments to cover you for yearly expenses. So they don't want to be a burden on the government. New Zealand used to be a lot more affordable a long time ago, and then it got more and more expensive. But now you need a large sum of investing, have in your accounts. You can either invest in real estate, or you can invest in business, or have like stocks and bonds and savings. Those are all have gone up. So but I'm gonna go with my let's see, do I want to go, let's go top 12 because of interest of time. So number 12, again, this was done with a different organization, have analyzed these. So I'll tell you some of my favorites, but number 12, and there are more. There's like Ireland and Belize and Malta. They're the top 15. So I won't get, but number 12 will be Uruguay. Now, the advantage of Uruguay is they have the healthcare is affordable, so you could have the healthcare. The governance is okay. The cost of living is okay. So that comes at number 12. One of the things about Uruguay, which I studied a lot, was it's a flat country, lots of cows, and the food is not exotic. So it's not like if you go to Argentina. My God, I mean, I love the food. It's just it's amazing. And the culture is great. The dancing, we dance every night. I've been there a couple of times, but Uruguay is a little blah. But that's my opinion, by the way. And it's a flat country, so not a lot of excitement. Even Montevideo is, it's okay. It's not the excitement of Argentina. So, but from affordability and other things, that ranks number 12. Now we go to staying in South America, we look at Colombia, believe it or not. I know the things that you think about Colombia. It's a beautiful country, actually, and has beautiful people. But the attractiveness about Colombia is the cost of living. It's a very affordable to live there. And still, and the climate. That's the climate, the affordability, and healthcare. Those are the three things that makes Colombia affordable and attractive. And the people are, there's some beautiful people. I remember when I was at university, my best friends, she was actually from Colombia, from Cali, and we became very close with her family, and they're just so warm-hearted. I mean, it's fantastic. And and the same thing like with Spain when we think about. Number 10 will be Thailand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, number Thailand is, well, of course, because of, first of all, cost of living, and actually the governance is also important, and they do have like stability there. And then if you like diving and beaches and other things, beautiful. But again, the cost, you can see that the difference between this list and the other list, you see that cost of living keeps coming up. So
Mhm.
if I am, let's say I have Social Security, let's say United States, and I have some pension, and I'm living in California, or New York, or Illinois, or state of Washington. I mean, things can be very expensive. So I have a limited amount of investments and income. These countries can offer you those alternatives. So now this is interesting. It came up in our other list is Italy.
Oh, I
Italy
love
is a
Italy.
beautiful, yeah, again, talking about the people. Of course, you have to separate between northern Italy and southern Italy. Now, for me personally, like I love Napoli. The
Mhm.
people are just so warm, and I love Venice. And I love Florence, just from cultural point of view. But
Mhm.
Italy is actually affordable in as far as the cost of living, and one of the most affordable countries in Europe. And of course, the culture, the scenery,
The
and
food.
the food is
When do we leave?
yes, the food. So there's a competition between Greek food and
Yeah.
Italian food. So
Oh,
a lot of it, I mean, it's just so, I mean, they're not too far from each other. So that's one of the top places if you love, especially again, I'm talking about southern Italy, and the people are just wonderful.
yeah.
So Italy will be number 9. Now France will come right above Italy, number 8. So we are, as I said, we ranking these based on all the factors. So it's not just a
Mhm.
few. But that's why I want to give you. I'm giving you the highlights so you can make your own choice and say, well, yeah, I think climate and friendliness and cost of living, those are my top priorities. So, but France has a little bit edging just by a few points ahead of Italy. And of course, the cost of living is not the top. It's expensive to live in France compared to the countries that we are talking. It's probably the most expensive country in the list that we are talking about. But again, it's the culture, the governance is important, and climate. I mean, if you are it's still beautiful. You can go skiing, but also you can be in Côte d'Azur, and
Yeah.
you can be in the southern France, and also healthcare. healthcare was a priority. So once we're talking about retirement, all of these have a very good health system and they have a good healthcare. Some of them have a lot of them, the affordability, but it also goes with your residency. So that's what you have to make sure you qualify to become a resident for. But the health system is important. So we emphasize that. We are top seven now. Number seven will be Greece. Talking about food and landscape and culture. Oh my God. Actually, healthcare is good. And, you know, desirability is good. So it's pretty much, it has all the good ratings, and cost of living is obviously very good. It's just around like with Italy. So I know they've had a lot of problems with their the government's economic plans and fiscal policies, but it is a beautiful country. Some of those islands are very expensive because of tourism, but there are places, even in Athens, and you go to some other islands, they're very affordable, but they are outside, the radar. So, but Greece is number seven. Right on top of Greece is Spain, as we talked about. Spain is we talked about five now. Because we're taking that affordability into the picture, it is number six. Housing has gotten expensive. It used to be better, but a lot of Germans and British tourists love to go to Spain. The climate is wonderful. Healthcare is good. Government is stable, good. People are just so friendly. The culture is there. I mean, there's just so many positives about Spain, and the language is beautiful. So the same with Italy, I should say. All right, let's go to these top five. Again, we're taking all the factors, especially cost of living, into the picture. The number five is Costa Rica,
Oh, yes.
which is called Switzerland of Central America. So it's a beautiful country. When I was 19, or I was 19 or 20, I almost bought 5,000 acres in Costa Rica, in
Oh,
southern Costa Rica, bordering Panama. Unfortunately, that's another story about financial decisions. The person I gave the money, she was from Panama, and unfortunately, that money went to her. She went there and got married with my money, so never saw that money. So I could have had, I don't know, 5,000 acres. That was $1 or something. Now probably it's worth 10, 20 million. It was
yes.
$5,000 then. So anyway, beautiful country. So for that, it's the visa and acceptance is easy, and cost of living is, of all the countries, it is not as good as, because I just mentioned Switzerland of Central America. It's more expensive than other like South American countries and other countries that I mentioned. So cost of living not attractive, but desirability is, again, it's a beautiful country. Healthcare is wonderful, and climate is pretty nice. Sometimes they get these, they have the forests and huge rains, but still, it's pretty nice, warm climate. Number four, which I studied a long time ago. I almost bought hotel there. It's Ecuador.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
Ecuador is probably one of the most affordable places. Used to be. The dollar was very strong. They lost. I mean, you could live on a very affordable with the U.S. or Canadian dollar. The housing is pretty affordable. Uh, Ease of entrance with the visa and residency is good. Healthcare is good. Climate is nice. They have beautiful beaches. Government is not as strong in the other countries, so it still have that problem. But overall, it ranks number four just because of the housing and cost of living and healthcare. All right. Now, we'll have another drum roll, and you ready for this? Number three
Hmm.
is Panama.
Aha. Good
Panama,
choice.
it is obviously It has become a banking center now. It's a
Yes.
tax haven. So from that point of view, it gets a lot of attractions from North America. So I'm a followed Panama for 40 years, and I've seen the last 20 years. I mean, what how it's grown. Of course, there's been some corruptions and other things, but it is one of, again, the most attractive for expats. Love to go there too, and from all over the world. It's not just United States. So ease of entry and visas is one of the easiest places. So that's one thing. Housing is not as affordable as, let's say, Ecuador, but it's still pretty good. Cost of living, it's not as cheap as, or affordable, even Greece or Italy, but it is still, it's affordable compared to other countries that we've talked about. It's desirable place again. The culture is good. The healthcare is good. So a lot of positives. So that's our number three. And this is interesting, but it makes sense. Again, closeness. Number two is Mexico. Mexico, again, the housing is not as affordable as some other countries, but it's still pretty good. But the cost of living, when you think about dollar to Mexican peso, cost of living is affordable. It is desirable. There are beautiful places. Climate is awesome, and healthcare is still good. So they do have a lot of alternative healthcare as well. So it is. It's a lot of, and we talked about expats. The United States, 800,000 people actually live in Mexico and plus more. I know a lot of my friends, they actually own places in Mexico. They actually own and
Hmm.
rent it out. So that's number two. Now, I've gone through this list, God, I think the past 20 years. So this one has become, was many years ago, it was like, was top 10, top 20, but now the last few years has been always top two. So number one country based on, again, residency, cost of living, um, government, climate, healthcare is Portugal. Portugal has become very attractive from many countries now. it, like in United Kingdom, when they want to go holidays, it used to be Malta, then it became Turkey, Cyprus. Spain has always been part of it, and love to again mention Germany and United Kingdom. But now everybody just goes to Portugal because it's much more. It was, now things are getting expensive. It was more affordable than in Spain. It is, they're neighbors, and basically, again, the healthcare is good, the climate is beautiful, the government is stable, the people are friendly, and the cost of living is pretty good. So it's getting more expensive. Again, it was much better a few years ago, but still, of all the countries we talked about, I would say uh, Portugal and Panama, and I would say I would say Mexico and Colombia and Thailand will be the top three. So just remember that.
Hmm.
Cost of living is pretty good in Portugal. And the other thing is the residency. So when we had these top five that I ranked, these all of them are very, very easy as far as, when you compare to New Zealand, for instance, or when you compare to Switzerland, it's more restrictive compared to Panama, Mexico, Portugal, Ecuador, Costa Rica. So um, that's it. Again, the three bonuses will be Malta, Ireland, and Belize. Belize is another of those two, so they're the top 15. But that's what, as I said, my favorite places. And again, depending on what your priorities are, again, if the finances are not that factor, then we can combine that. Or climate is an important, the landscape is important, the desirability, or the governance, property rights, or the taxes. But mainly, if it is like the entry to become a resident, for the residency, each one have their own rules. So based on that, this is our rankings, and I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful for some of our, again, our audience who, first of all, love to travel, but also maybe someday they say, you know what, I was in that beach and I can see myself sitting there, writing my books, sipping pina colada or whatever, and just enjoy life. So
Right.
these are some of them. And again, in the past, I've done like looked at Malaysia, I've looked at, again, Chile, and again, from the privacy and banking systems. But these are the top overall, I think maybe 20, 25 countries that you can
Hmm.
investigate on your own. So
Right. Well, I think I'm going to go through the list here and share a little bit about my favorites. Would that be all right?
please,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I did go to Panama in 2007.
Okay.
Um, my one of my mentors had passed away down there, and I decided to take a little adventure on my own and go down. And then once I got there, I fell in love. So I have always wanted to go back. And even Ron and I very seriously looked at moving there on more than one occasion. And we've forgotten about that. So I'm going to have to bring that up again.
All
Um,
right.
but I loved it because the ease of entrance, you didn't have to have a whole bunch of money because if you were already a senior on a pension, they took that as that you're not going to be a burden. So, and the other reason I loved it was the people, because when they built the Panama Canal, 75 different cultures of people worked on that project. So the population has a very mixed um, descendant, if you will, or ancestry. So, there were Asian people there, Black people there, Indigenous people there. And some of the women and the men are like so good looking, just beautiful looking people. And that mocha skin, and oh my God, yes, and friendly. Plus, it also was going to be very open for me to do business there.
Right.
So I investigate. Now, I was doing that without having this list that you have provided, and I should have had that list with me. But Panama would cover, and healthcare was really right up there too. So that would be my number one choice. My second choice would be Italy. I love Italy. And when I traveled in Europe, I found Italy to be the most friendly of all the countries I'd been in. And I love the history, the culture, and I have a feeling that we'll be going there. So I can't wait to make a trip to Italy. Um, Greece. I've never been to Greece, but I forgot to tell you when you come back to visit us in Drayton. A very good client of mine, they were clients of mine. They own a restaurant here in Drayton. We should have gone there for dinner because his dad was from Greece and came to Canada and he built this really successful restaurant, which now the owner, Tony, is who I know. And because the restaurant got passed down, and there they have excellent food. So we'll have to take you there when you come back.
I love great food.
We were
Yeah.
so busy, we didn't even think about that.
Now we're ready to go.
You don't even have to go outside of Drayton to get that great Greek food. Let's see. Yes. I have friends who've built homes in Costa Rica. They went to Costa Rica from Alberta here. They went to Costa Rica, built a home, rented out. One couple rented it out so much they never got to use it themselves and eventually sold it. But that's a very popular place for us in the West. And also, I have friends also who have homes in Mexico. So I don't know that I'd want to live in Mexico myself personally. I like the European kind of flair to the way that they live, the lifestyle, dinner at night. And no, you come home from work and you get showered and you change and you take your kids and everybody else and you're out on the streets at night in the little cafes. sipping wine and having a good meal, and it's all very, very appealing to me. So, what would be your top three right now at this stage? Because you're older now. So, um,
Yes,
what would be your top three out of all the countries you mentioned to us today?
I would. I mean, again, I studied New Zealand. Always came at top if the finances, as I mentioned, but it was. I had a good relationship, as I said, with the officials there, the banking, and I love that. Actually, it is almost like Orange County, California. That's what New Zealand is. You go to Auckland or Wellington, it's just a beautiful scenery. So if I even if I have like grandchildren or anything, that would be a place I wouldn't mind. So New Zealand would be one. Um, Spain or Portugal will be another one, and I love just just the culture there. So probably Spain first, and then Portugal second. And in South America, I again investigate Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Chile. I love Argentina.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's just a beautiful culture. The dancing. It's just that the government is very unstable, so you don't know what will happen next. And uh, the healthcare is okay. Uh, I share like one short story that I the first time when I went to Argentina, I the day before I had played soccer, and our goalkeeper got hurt, so I ended up being the captain. I went in the goal, and apparently I fractured my middle finger. So I didn't know. I'm like, I can't move it. And then when I was in Argentina the second day in Buenos Aires, they sent me. They said I couldn't move it, so I go and went to a German, which was a private hospital. They did everything, X-rays. It's the middle of the night, and it cost me $30 for the whole
Oh
thing,
my!
with the bridge, everything. So it's a white bridge, and it's they wrapped it. So the next day, I was meeting with the ex head of the central bank and the finance ministers in the went and walked through the treasury department. He's giving me a tour of the whole thing, and then they're the media. They're taking pictures, and of course in suit and tie. With here is the central bank head of this for the Carlos Menem, which was the ex-president. So we are doing all that. Went to the stock market, and then the pictures come out, and in all the pictures I have my middle finger because it comes out. It's just standing next to it's like it was very embarrassing. But at that time we laughed. I mean, we
Yeah.
became friends with the head of the central bank, and he was just laughing. Very honorable person. It was wonderful.
Wow.
Um, but I would have loved to own a place because Buenos
Yeah.
Aires, you're talking about the culture. You have Italian culture, you
Hmm.
have Spanish, German, even French. I mean, it was gorgeous. But there is this aristocrat group of
Yeah.
people. They just there, and I actually first time visited. So there's this different classes, but yes.
Mhm.
So I would say that would be another one. And then I was thinking of living in Cyprus. That was another choice, but yeah. So I would say New Zealand, Argentina, Costa
Right.
Rica. I love as well, and I've never been to Panama. So
Oh,
yes, but
don't go. Don't
I
go.
know
You might
people.
not come back. I almost didn't come back.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking with all of that paraphernalia on that middle finger, you could have really given people the finger with a little extra emphasis on the
Well, it
word.
was, we don't have it in our culture, but it's like
Yeah.
that. I mean, they really didn't make a big deal out of it, but I was
Right.
embarrassed.
Right.
It's just
I know.
the tie and suit
I
and just
know.
standing there with this
Yeah.
holding.
You
But
you would
anyway, I'm
really.
just saying affordability. The
Yeah.
healthcare.
Yeah.
It was
Oh yeah.
amazing.
Like really.
Amazing. The food was, oh my God, so cheap, and the culture and the dancing. Of course,
Oh
all every night in Florida
yeah.
Street, they just go around, and people just
Nice.
dancing till morning. So anyway, but
Awesome.
that's my experience. So
Well, I hope today that our time is up. So I hope that
wow,
today we've inspired some people to be thinking about getting out of the box, going in and exploring. Travel is a wonderful thing. And when you travel and you find a place that just touches your heart, for me, it was Panama, then, that's a possibility. And Italy too was
yeah,
big.
Italy. I forgot to say.
Oh yeah, no, I loved it there.
Yeah,
So that has been our show today, Ramin, and thank you so much for the
yeah,
insight. I particularly enjoyed the list of what we need to be thinking about if we want to retire somewhere else or live somewhere else. So those 10 pieces, I've made note of them because I believe I probably hit on a few of them, but not all of them when I was investigating Panama.
right.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So that's our show today. Thank you so much, Ramin. We're
Yeah.
streaming live right now on E360 TV. You can go in and watch the show at your leisure later on. Also, our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, Self Worth, the Missing Link Superstars. We're going to have recorded shows for the rest of the week. So if you feel the need to have a little Dr. Laurie fix, then just go in to any one of those places and you can pick up on our shows. And the one thing that we ask is that you just share the show, because maybe you have friends right now who are in a quandary about what's their next move or what's their next step. And this is really valuable information, especially if they're considering living somewhere else. So thanks so much, Ramin. You're always such a pleasure to be with on the show because you're just full of information that people need. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, you bet.
Wonderful
All
week.
right. Well, have a great rest of the week, everyone. And we will see you on Monday. No, we won't, because this weekend coming up is the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, that's right.
So we will not be on the air live on the Monday. It will be a recorded show, but we'll see you next week after that. Okay. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you.